I'm joined by Nelly from Melbourne MegaGames. Nelly, thanks for joining us.
No worries, I'm glad to be here.
The main question I have, or the first question I have is, what is a mega game?
So, a mega game is what it says on the tin. It's a really big game. Mega games tend to run from about 30 players, which is the game we have here today, up to 200. They combine elements of LARP, so live action role-playing games, with more of your traditional tabletop board game mechanics. So where a LARP is very about like being in character, and reacting as such, mega games tend to have a lot more kind of strategy on a map or in between teams and so on.
Can you tell me about what the players are playing today? What's happening?
So today's game is a game called Phase Anatomy. It was designed by Patrick Rose, John Keyworth and Holly Wall. And so they are some designers from the UK, which is kind of where mega games started as a tradition. Phase Anatomy is a play on Grey's Anatomy, if you've seen it. So with that, there is some fantastical mischief happening as a couple of hundred years ago, Fae returned to the human realm and there was a big war, and the upshot of that is that they have integrated with society and are now part of the medical system. So players in this game are playing as different communes in a town called Swanshire, and then each of the players also have a job at a hospital or as part of the Paladins of Lennis, which are the paramedics, or as explorers or as researchers, and they're playing the game kind of both in their little home unit as their team and then also in their workspace where they're going and dealing with magical disasters as they happen.
So imagine that also gives players the opportunity, there's the overlord of this is the big story that's unfolding. Mm-hmm. However, there's also individual character dramas. Yeah. Like I'm sure that, you know, if it's based on Grey's Anatomy, that there's got to be love triangles, there's got to be shenanigans, there's probably like about 4 different plane crashes and so forth. Is that correct?
Yeah, so a little bit more on the fantasy side. So lately a giant cuttlefish has swum up the stream and is causing problems for the Children of East, which are a fishing commune. More things like that. There's some problem with the air mana, which is one of the magical resources as players are just discovering.
So do you think it's the scale of the game or the sort of the mix of the elements of it's role-playing, but there is sort of a bit more structure with the actual the game mechanics, that you think that really people like attract people to these sort of mega games?
Yeah, 100%. Mega games are really unique, so they're not LARPs, they're not board games, they're somewhere in the middle. You can kind of come at them, if you do really like LARPs and you really like your D&D and you like your role playing, you can come in and you can make that story happen. If you're not so comfortable with that, it's just a big board game. And usually within teams, there's a couple of different roles, so you kind of have some choice about where you want to go. Mega games are, they're starting to get some tropes. They've been around for a little while. The council game is pretty common, and so that's where you'll find your social players who are there to really scheme and manipulate other people. Conversely, you'll have some kind of crunchier board game spheres where that's where if you want to go where you want to move resources around and be really efficient. Yeah.
Can you tell me about Melbourne MegaGames? Obviously you're running this event. What other events have you run in the past or looking to run in the future? And can you tell me about the community?
Yeah, for sure. So we started in 2019 and it was just myself and Tristan, who you'll have seen today as a control player. And we played a mega game that was run by a group down in Geelong. And we both went, wow, this is our thing. So we started Melbourne MegaGames. Our first game was Watch the Skies, which is the most well-known mega game out there. It's by Jim Wallman, who we call the grandfather of mega games. From there, we ran a game by a Sydney designer. So there's Melbourne MegaGames here. There's the Sydney MegaGamers, so there's the Brisbane MegaGamers in those respective cities, and we work with them quite closely. So in addition to running games, we do a series of design workshops where they will host it on our Discord servers. You'll kind of show up with your game idea, we'll workshop it, and that's how we're starting to produce some more Australian mega games. We often go to PAX, we do a panel. We have some mixes, so we have just some social events because mega games are really exhausting. And by the time you get to the end of it, we go to the pub and we have a chat about what happened during the day. But the mixes are kind of the pub without the mega game attached. We tend to run 3 to 4 games a year. We're coming up on our 5th anniversary next year, so that's where we're looking at maybe a much bigger game in the 200 player realm. But stay tuned for details about that.
That's very exciting. Now, you mentioned something about being quite intensive to run your control players. Can you tell me a little bit from the behind the scenes perspective, what sort of is going into making a mega game run?
So, if it's a game that's being designed, that the design process is kind of disconnected, so you'll spend probably up to a year kind of coming up with your rules and your game spheres, writing all of that down, and then putting it in front of playtesters and going through it the same way that you would with any other type of game. Once you kind of locked all of that, you can start making your content. We would look towards the logistics of putting the game on. The alternative is that we pick up games that other people have run previously. So as I mentioned, this one was run in the UK. We paid them a licensing fee to get the game. It's the first time, it's only its third run, it's the first time it's run in Australia. So once we've got that, we tend to start probably 3 to 4 months out before the game day. We'll book a venue, we'll start advertising, start coordinating teams, do the sign up, ordering materials. You might imagine if a mega game is a very, very big board game, you kind of have to order several board games worth of components in order to make it happen. Often we're printing custom cards, custom maps, all of that kind of thing. And then, we put a control team together as the other aspect. So that's the people that we have who are kind of your GMs who run the game on the day, and we do some training with them. So we'll, once we've got all the game components, we'll sit down with control, we'll go through it, we'll learn how the game works kind of practically, so they're really equipped to run it on the day. That's pretty much it.
Well, I'm really excited to see what you guys have cooked up for your 5th anniversary. This mega game sounds amazing. If people were interested, where can they find more information about you guys?
So we are on Twitter, on Facebook, we have a Discord. Discord would be the place to come if you want to chat to us, because that's really where our community is based. We have a mailing list. We are currently rebuilding our website, so we did have one and we have stripped it back and are redesigning it. So I'm not sure when that will launch, but that will be the place to find information. So I think we've got a link tree if you go linktree.Melbourne MegaGames. But I think if you Google Melbourne MegaGames, we'll show up. But I would recommend joining the Discord personally.
Nelly, thank you very much for showcasing mega games to us today.
Thank you for coming. It's a pleasure to have you here.